Pracharini, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatharini, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Shri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai, Hare Krishna. And let's go to our introductory mantra. Om Jnana Timirandasya, everyone.
Om Jnana Timirandasya.
Jnananjana Shalakaya.
Jnananjana
Chakshurum Militam Yena.
Tatsarum Milidam Jena.
Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Sri Gurave.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
I was born in the darkness of ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
With the torch of knowledge.
With the torch of
knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we're going to go to our spot in chapter 10, verse, I think it's 32. Am I right about that?
32.
I don't know.
31 is what I was.
31. Okay, beautiful. Okay, 31. Opulence of the Absolute. Okay, everyone's on board. Okay. Pavana Pavatam Asmi Rama Shastra Britamaham Jasanam Markaras Chasmi Shrutasam Asmi Janavi. Of purifiers I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons I am Rama. Of fishes I am the shark. And of flowing rivers I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus the shark represents Krishna. Okay. Jai, so let's talk about the first one. Pavana. Pavana means the wind. And there are windy places in some of the areas that I travel to, like say, for instance, Alberta. It's a windy place, and some of you live there. Florida, not so much. You got a lot of trees to block the winds, but you have the ultimate winds of the hurricane season. Yep. Okay. Those who live in BC that are on board, you've got the mountains that kind of block you. You don't get the wind in the same way that you get in the prairies or the plains. So what about the wind? And we oftentimes think of the wind as something that blows everything around, and it's not always, doesn't always have such a good rap. But there's a few things that we have to look at favorably disposed towards the wind. The wind gives strength to the trees. They push them a bit, you know, the branches, even the trunk when it's young, it moves, it gives power. And also, it's a purifier in the sense that it picks up certain rancid areas and tosses it up into another area. It's a major cleaner. Yeah. Just like the sun is, just like water is. The wind has the same effect. And when we do arti to our deities, or you do arti to Prabhupada's, you know, murti or something like that, what do? We offer a flame because it's a purifying agent. We also offer water, and then we offer a little towel to cleanse Prabhupada after. We offer, of course, some fragrance, you know, of flower. And we also offer a chamara. or a peacock fan, which creates the wind. The chamra is supposed to keep the flies off. That doesn't really happen in Canada most of the year. Flies aren't around, thank God. But the peacock fan, which I saw Prabhupada use himself in Atlanta, Georgia, it does create a bit of wind. And so in this way, it is a great contributor. And it does wipe an area that's wet. It takes out the wetness. And here's one example. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it was my first year as a brahmachari at the Toronto Temple. We all understood that what pleased Prabhupada very much was to go out and distribute his books, Back to Godhead magazines, and so on and so forth. We were just trying to help to check the imbalanced lives of people through the book distribution. And I was doing the lineups at the movie house where they were showing the Exorcist. The Exorcist is one of the all-time scariest films of all time, where a Catholic priest tries to get some young woman to be deep possessed. And it turns out really kind of dark, but it's people loved the movie. It was so that people would line up around the theater, around the block, and almost like the whole block. That was amazing. So we had a lot of people. So it was on that winter, that particular winter, we would go to the movie house, or we go on Yonge Street, and it was winter, and we had one person who was delivering the kitchery, so we didn't have to go all the way back to the temple to eat. We just hop into the van and take kitchery. That's all it was, kitchery, nothing else. They didn't even have water for us. It was forgotten. So our main leader's name's Jagadish. He ate some kitchery. It was with a spoon and a plate. And then we were wondering, how do we wash our hands? So he rolled down the window of the van and he stuck his hands out and he said, "Of purifiers, I am the wind." Okay, solves that problem. So I really appreciate places where there's lots of wind, because I just have a better sleep. The wind knocks me out, and I can have a good rest for a change. So I've heard certain people from Alberta curse the wind, but no, I think it has some strong points. So the wind is very dominant within space, and it's invisible for the most part. In that sense, the wind is mystical, and it is a representation of Krishna because of its purifying qualities. Is there anybody else who would like to say something about the wind? I'd like to hear some Floridians talk about the hurricane.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'll tell you. Okay. All right. So first time I visited Chicago for business, right? I'm there, I'm from Cleveland, so coat on, right? I'm ready. I think I'm ready. So I get there and I get off the plane, and one of the guys, he sees me shaking. He's like, "Hey, you from around here, are you?" I was like, "No." I said, "But I got a nice triple fat goose coat on. What do you mean? I can't believe it's still cold." He said, "Listen, there's a rule in Chicago." I said, "What's the rule in Chicago?" He said, "You need to buy your clothes from here, because our clothes are thicker than your clothes." I was like, that's something. And I swear, I literally bought a North Face coat in Chicago. And I swear, it's thin. This thing held the wind off me like no other. I'm telling you.
Well, Chicago is known as the Windy City, and I think the wind all blows off of Lake Michigan. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good. I'm glad you're a survivor. The wind is such a powerful force, and therefore perfect representation of Krishna within material nature. All right.
When I was in college, the college to go to was on 13th and Chester, right? And if you're downtown in Cleveland, you know how narrow the streets are. 13th and Chester, we used to laugh because if you weren't over like 150 pounds, the wind would move you around. So everybody used to make fun of us that was older, that was like going to their job. They could tell we were in college. The wind would be pushing us around. They're like, you need to eat more. I never forget. I'm like, we're trying. We need to God breeze.
Yes. So the wind encouraged you to, have a big increase your appetite. Yeah, it sounds like So anyways, thank you very much. And please, Prabhus, if you could just keep this in mind. When the wind comes strong, please be reminded of Krishna.
Maharaj.
Maharaj,
Mm-hmm.
you have your headset on. Could you wear the headset because your voice is going up and down?
My voice is going up and down. Well, it must be that the wind is pushing me around, I guess. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go through this looking technical. Is this better for you all?
Yes, Maharaj.
It is better?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. Shall we go on with the next phrase of this verse? Of the wielders of weapons, I am Ram. So Ram is known for his being the carrier of the bow and arrow. And he used that weapon on many occasions to deal with the Rakshasas that were giving trouble to the Brahmins, doing their yagyas. He once struck a mystic by the name of Marich, the one who took the form of the golden deer and lured Sita away. Ram was, with his bow and arrows, he was able to stave off 14,000 Rakshasas single-handedly. And of course, his famous bow struck the navel of Ravana, the arch enemy, and hence one of the big tyrants of the world. Ravana met to his end because of Ram's arrows. He also strung the string to the bow in order to win Sita's hand in marriage. So there's a lot of stories affiliated with Ram and his bow, in as much as Krishna plays the flute and was effective with his devotees. Ram is known for his bow and arrow. So I also wanted to mention that Ram's name appears several times in the Gita, or it's implied. So we can see that there's a connection. Ram was born in the Surya dynasty, the sun dynasty, whereas Krishna was born in the moon dynasty. Two different families, but still the same personality of Godhead. Yeah. And we've all been doing that anyways. We've been going through different incarnations, or reincarnations, shall I say. We are not avatars, those of us who are in this call, but we have gone through different bodies. We've been through different families, lived in different countries, and been through different species. And but it's Ram and Krishna who have this tie, this connection. They are one and the same. Ram is mentioned here. Kapi Dvaja is in reference to Hanuman. That's mentioned in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. That is the flag that has Hanuman on it, that gave Arjuna protection. Fourth chapter of the Gita. You can take some of these notes down if you like. We mentioned about the disciplic succession. beginning, first of all, with the Lord himself, Krishna, and then he's talking to the sun god. And then the sun god is conveying the same wisdom to Manu, the father of mankind. And then Manu conveys the information to Ikshvaku. And Ikshvaku was a king in the Surya dynasty. The Raghu dynasty, that's a different name, Raghu dynasty, in which Ram appeared. So there are references. I'm sure there's one or two more where Ram is conveyed, or let's say implied, in the Bhagavad Gita. So we don't need to separate the two personalities, Ram and Krishna. They are culturally connected, and they are, as far as their own being is concerned, they are one and the same. Does anybody have any questions? Do we have any archers here amongst us? Any archers? Okay. Well, if you don't physically take up a bow and an arrow, please shoot straight for Krishna's lotus feet. Okay, that's all you have to do. Be very focused. All right. And I see Ralph joined us. Thank you. And also Jai Sri Brinda, thank you very much. Bruce and Arjuna. Okay, anything else about bows and arrows, Prabhus?
No, Maharaj, just one little thing that according to my calendar, today is Ram Vijay Utsav. So
Well, thank you.
I
Jai.
thought, I don't
Yeah.
think it's a coincidence that you're talking about Ram.
No, Ram arranged this. Ram arranged it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So this is a big day for Ram. And tomorrow, I believe, we're celebrating Madhvacharya's day of birth. Okay, let's go to Jaws. Of fishes, I'm the shark. Okay. So I think when was Spielberg, he came out with the movie Jaws, it gave sharks kind of a bad rap. It made them look terrifying. And of course, they are. I mean, I'd freak if I saw one of those little fins on top of the water line. I was in the water swimming. I don't know what I'd do. I understand that their nose is a very soft spot, a sensitive spot. So if one was to come at me, I would do that. I would take my fist and I would knock him on the nose. What do you think, Prabhus? Okay. Fishes, I'm the shark. No doubt they are very powerful creatures. And because they are powerful, therefore they are a representation of Krishna. Anybody has any shark stories they'd like to tell? Am I being heard? Can
Yeah,
you
we
hear
hear
me?
you, Maharaj.
Everybody fears sharks, right? Everybody. I don't know anybody who has a good opinion of sharks. So they are the most ferocious, I think.
Yes, they are something to be concerned about, you know. And I understand that sharks, they'll go for you, they'll go after you, and they'll take a little chunk out of you. But they don't like human flesh. So then they just let you go. You know? And so you're left wounded, missing, you know, all bloodied. And then with the contact of the salt water on your wound, you know, you can imagine the agony of it all. I have also not met anybody who's been attacked by a shark. But I'm sure they have some role to play. Not only do we understand they're powerful creatures with amazing jaws, but they help in the ecosystem in the ocean and help to clean up some of the ocean's waters. So we have to respect them. Respect the shark, but from a distance, please. Hare Krishna. All right. Again, I'm like a Great Lakes kid. So for us, the water is sweet water, and you don't have to worry about salt water. You don't have to worry about sharks or jellyfish. You don't have to worry about anything. These waters are amazing. Yeah. Okay, so
Alright.
we're talking about water. Let's go to the Ganga now. Give me 1 second.
Ralph, you have a question? Or you want to say something? Ralph, you had your hands up.
Just call me right at 6, and I'll be there for you. Okay? Just call me on this line at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, I just went for a swim in the Ganga, and now I'm back. I'm dried off. The wind dried. Okay, the Ganga, sacred river. Everyone knows that it was the avatar known as Vamana, who was a young boy. He expanded himself to become a giant, and he took 2 steps of land, and then finally a third. On the first step, he covered half of the universe because he was so tall. Second one was the second half of the universe, and then the third one, his lotus toe broke through the barriers of the universe, where the waters are available, the causal waters. And so the Ganges water is sacred because of connecting with his lotus feet, and also because the Lord is, as one of the Vishnu expansions, is lying on that water. So the Ganges is the manifestation of the Karana Daka, causal ocean in the material world. And she arises from Gangotri in the Himalayas, the tallest mountains in the world. And she comes and ends up in the Bay of Bengal and passes through several cities. And one of them, of course, near the end is near Kolkata. It's sometimes called the Hooghly in that area. And I know one fellow from West Virginia who wrote a book about his walking the globe. He walked many countries, and he was a journalist. And when he was swimming in the river there, something rubbed against him, and it was a dead body. Of course, he's a journalist. He has to be very sensational about everything. But I'm not denying that he made it, he's lying about the details. Okay, so the Ganga, it's a holy river, and it's a water that connects with the hair of Shiva, such details. We maybe not need to get into that right now, but it is a place that Prabhupada would go to for purification. And because there's such a rich history surrounding the Ganga, therefore it is mostly to do with sadhus and yagyas, so on like that. Therefore, it is considered a very sacred place. And one of my favorite verses from the Bhagavatam makes reference to the Ganga. Queen Kunti, the mother of Arjuna and Yudhishthira and Bhima and others, the 5 Pandavas, she was saying to Krishna, before he was ready to leave this world, she said, "My Lord, may my consciousness constantly flow to your lotus feet. Just like the Ganges, even though she's sort of swirling around, she always will end up at the ocean. So let my consciousness be like the flow of the Ganga and ending up at one particular spot. Gange Govam Undanvanti. That's the Sanskrit. And so if you all have a chance to go to the Ganga, you can reflect on the words by Queen Kunti. It's a place, it's a body of water. It's a personified, she's a lady, and she's a little bit feisty. That's her personality. She's powerful, and in some cases relentless. We do lose some of our devotees to the swirls that are in the Ganga almost every year. One person loses their life. She's powerful, and therefore she's amongst the rivers. She is a representation of Krishna. Yeah. And sometimes the Ganga flows over the banks, and then she recedes. She leaves an amazing topsoil on the ground. That's why wherever she is, with her delta, she creates a nice, like a growing area. And there's so many stories about the Ganga, right? It was Karna who was floating down the river when Atirata, a chariot driver, saw the little baby in the basket, said, "What is this?" And he took the baby, brought them back to his wife Radha, and said, "I found a baby. It's ours." So the Ganga brings on lots of surprises, many, many surprises. And Krishna does as well. Krishna has many things that he does, and he uses these agents. So the Ganga is considered to be liquid God, God in water form. And then there's also God in wood form as Jagannath. So when you go to the Dham, the spiritual places in India, you may be fortunate to go into the Ganga and have a bath there, which is what Prabhupada used to do. And he really would enjoy it very much. You have to be careful though.
Yeah. Yesterday, Sankalpa was saying a story about Prabhupada's granddaughter got drowned in Ganga.
Yes, it was very sad. And I met her husband, and he was very devastated. He was just destroyed. I felt for him. I chatted with him a little bit. This is like maybe 2-3 months after it happened. They were in a boat. There was a flood, and he had his wife and the baby, right? The wife, yeah. And he lost them to the Ganga. He couldn't go in and save them. And
Also the brother. So it was the brother, the daughter, and the wife. It's in like 10 minutes or so. They were all.
Yes, it was his wife and the daughter. Is what you said?
Yeah, wife, daughter, and his brother. He had 5 brothers, but only one survived. The other 3 that died of various, causes. And so this last brother, like few months before he died in the Ganga, he said, "Wow, out of 5, we are only 2 left. I'm wondering who's going next." He was saying that.
Wow. I hope he's in good hands. Anyways, we can see the strength of the Ganga, the pull of the Ganga, and how you have to be really careful of dealing with anything that, even if it has immense spiritual quality, we always have to take care of everything. Just pay attention to details, and don't try to be a daredevil. Don't try to be Captain America, and think you can do just anything. There are devotees that have swam across, See, in India, people don't swim. They're kind of scared of water. But you have these daredevils, and I think Krishnadas, who's my god brother here, is sort of a swimming champ, and I think he's done it, and others have done it. But don't take your chances. Your life is precious, and we have service to do. Even Haridas Thakur, who came from a Muslim background, he became the greatest Vaishnava and the teacher of the Acharya of the Holy Name. He was tossed into the Ganga, and he made it across. And he transcended the power of her currents. Beautiful stories. Yes, let's say sensational stories. Yes, so when you take regular water from the tap and you put your thumb in it, and perhaps it's like a Brahma's thread, you string yourself around, you chant a mantra, and you can turn that water into Ganga water, or waters that are have the power of several sacred rivers from India. So I did that once. I'll tell you that story quickly, and then I'll shut up for a bit. This was the third time I walked across Canada. There's a place called Pristine Lake, and one woman pulled over, and she had about 3 friends in the van with her. But she came and said, we just finished, me and my friends just finished getting a boat made, a dragon boat for our lake. And we are just ready to inaugurate the event. And so we need a monk to cut the ribbon, so to speak, to inaugurate. So you're a monk. We need you over at the lake. And I said, well, I can't really leave the road. I'm doing this walk across the country, and my support person will not find me. Cell phones don't work in the mountains. It's ridiculous. Forget it, So I just couldn't leave him bewildered. So I said, but what I can do for you? And the ladies started coming out of the van. I said, what I can do for you? See that water that's coming down the creek here? It's glacial fed, and it's clean and pure. But I'll just go down the few meters, and I'll turn it into Ganges water through mantra power. And they said, oh, really, you can do that? And I said, yes, through the power of mantra, you can do so many things. So I went down there, and then I like to think that I transformed. It was like a little branch of the Ganga now. And after doing the mantras, I cupped some of the water in my hand, and I threw it on the 4 women that were up there, and they received it. These are Caucasian ladies. They're not Hindu women, They're just Western ladies who believe in a little bit of yoga and believe in Buddha and all this, So then I sort of climbed back up onto the road level where the van was parked, and I chanted some mantras. So I said, okay, we'll all get in a circle. And I went through the whole Mangala Charana prayers, that we have on page 1 from the Gita. And they put their heads down. And, I just, Om Gyan. And I finished with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I just said that the ritual has begun, it's finished, and it is done. So they were so happy that we inaugurated their dragon boat without me being there. And we just did it through the power of mantra and sprinkled Ganges water on them. And then it was so nice because they were cultured women, and they gave donations to help pay for the gas for my support guy. They gave dakshin, or bakshis, And so that's a little story about Ganga water, where the Ganges doesn't flow. And every day the pujaris, they'll make use of Ganga water merely by taking regular water from the tap and putting mantras to the water. So if you want to, try out the magic, we can share you the mantras, okay, for your puja, if you
Yes.
like.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So we'll go to our host and she'll take care of everything. Vaishnavi, thank you so much. Okay. Now we hear sometimes about the Yamuna, and the Yamuna is sometimes Prabhupada called the tributary of the Ganga. Like it's a small Ganga, and perhaps Yamuna is even more sacred than the Ganges River. But our view as Vaishnavas, honestly, we should see all rivers as sacred. When we see a river, I think here's the Ganga. Here's a reflection of the Ganga. Like when I walked America, I walked on the bridge over the Hudson River, and that's a mighty river. I did 4 rounds walking it. Took me a half hour to walk that. And then when I got to the Mississippi River, I thought, yay, this is great. What a great milestone. There's been so much folklore about the Mississippi River. And again, I just saw that river as a reflection of the Ganga. Then finally there was the Missouri River. So 3 great rivers that you cross over when that they run north-south. And just to remind you of the Ganga and the Holy Lands and everything like that. So rivers are important. They are living organisms, and they were the highways for the pioneers that came from Europe and for indigenous people for a long, long time. And they're much more exciting than a highway. Rivers, they're living organisms, and they do sometimes create erosion. They change their directions. Gaurachandra lived in Mayapur, and Sankalpa you did for many years, right? You've seen the Ganga change her course many times. She'll sort of eat away at the wall of the earth, and then she'll take a farmer's field away, and then she'll create an island, and then the farmer has to go over there and plant. Yeah, that's what I mean. See, she's a furious lady. That's what I can say. Furious lady. But her water is sacred and has incredible powers. Anything more anybody would like to say about the Holy Ganga?
But isn't there a story where Ganga is asking, now that everybody will come and leave their sins on me, how will
Yes.
I want to get cleansed? And that
How will she get cleansed? Oh, yes.
the,
So the question is, people come to dump their sins in her waters. How will she get clean? Okay.
that person in Kali Yuga who would worship Krishna use through names, holy names of Krishna.
Oh, you're giving the answer.
Yeah. So then.
Okay, so you projected the question, and you also gave the answer. Yeah. So Prabhupada does talk about that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He does speak about very advanced souls coming and absorbing the karma from the water. Yes, that is definitely a good answer. Mm-hmm. But we also know that the Ganga is pure by her own, let's say, by dint of her own presence, and beautiful water keeps flowing coming from the Gangotri. She's like an endless baptism, flowing of purity flow. Yes. But thank you. That is true. Sadhus will come absorb some of the karma of others from the waters, and they will carry it and take the responsibility of those who have, dumped their sapap, their sin. So this is one explanation. Yes. Thank you so much. Anything else? Gaurachandra?
Yes, Maharaj, regarding the purity of Ganga Devi, I would like to say, although people, they always talk about, oh, the dead bodies, the water is dirty, there's so much stuff floating, But I personally bathed every single day in Janavimata, and I drank the water every single day, and I never got sick. That's all.
Okay, but I could argue, but you're sick now, aren't you?
Because I left Ganga, because I left Mayapur.
Okay,
I have
fair
to
enough.
supplement.
Fair enough.
I got the reaction of leaving Mayapur for Calgary.
Babu, I
Yes.
can also counter argue. So there were a group of Gurukul boys that would swim in the Ganga. There was a special day. I forgot which one, but they drank Ganga water straight from the Ganga without filtering, and they got all sick. They did get sick from it.
They did get sick, or they did not
Yeah.
get sick.
They did.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Got sick from it.
Yes, that's also highly possible. Yeah. I mean, let us not forget that we humans are the most evil creatures in existence. We go to a place like Vrindavan and we make it like a dumping garbage, even though it's such a holy place. We mistreat everything. We're good at ruining the soil. We're good at, making attempts to destroy the water, the air, everything. We're just so good at spoiling everything. Because we are members of the Kali Yuga and we live in that time. So this is also part of the reality and part of the, predictions of what people, men and women, do in Kali Yuga. Yes. We take the river and we turn it into a toilet. In the Ganga, let's say, the Bengal at Puri, people just pass right there by the water, the fishermen, right there, and the water picks up your little contribution to the world and then tries to absorb it. So we shouldn't forget that. I think we need to separate the two, that the Ganga has incredible powers, but we can also, we play a role in trying to spoil her. She will clean herself out, but we have to stop making the mess, right? So I think that's a reality that we must face. We have a great responsibility to make everything clean. And let's not forget our Srila Prabhupada. He really wanted everything to be nice and tidy. And, he didn't want to see, let's say, levels of filth that currently exist. When Prabhupada first went to Vrindavan, it was a very green space, and there's been so much deforestation going on with the so-called development of the place. So I'm talking whether it's Vrindavan or whether it's Ganga, even though we are pilgrims, and because we're pilgrims, we feel we're privileged. Don't forget, we, have to respect, these holy places. And I feel really bad when I see on the bank of the Ganga, I just see wrappers, papers, and plastic, and rotting rags, and I just feel so bad. I personally just want to say that only service. I forget all the kirtans. I'll skip them all. I'll have a little simple kitri in the morning. I would just love to go, and I'll skip the meetings too. And I'll just say, I'll just go, and I just want to clean up this place and make it look like something that will start. But I mean, it's going to take some time to do that. So I respect what you say, Gaura Chandra, and I respect what Sankalpa is also saying. I respect both of your perceptions on the Holy Ganga. Okay. Anything else, Prabhus? I mean, these are good topics. We're talking about the wind. People are trying to call me. The wind, which is in our face. There's a famous Irish blessing, and it goes something like this. May the wind, when you're blessing someone that's going for a long journey on a walk, may the wind be on your back. That's how it starts out. and it's beautiful. So we're talking about the wind. We're talking about Rama, who's very dear to us because we chant his name every day of the year, every day of our life. We say Rama, Rama, Rama. We keep saying his name again and again. And sharks, we hope never to get close to one. And let's see, and for the Ganga, yes, I think that whatever we talked about amongst us in the last few minutes will maybe encourage some of you to want to go to India, to go to the holy places and see these spaces for yourself. And because they are extremely powerful places of power, yeah, places of spiritual power. Yeah, good. Any other questions that may arise from you, Bruce? Because I don't want to get into the next topic for next week. It's a sort of a deep one, and well, look at the purport. You know, there was 2 sentences. We didn't get anyone a chance to. Curtis didn't have a chance to say anything. Usually one of our first guys to read. So did it excite you? I mean, where would you rather be, by the bank of the Ganges, or would you like to meet face to face with a shark? Okay,
They have dolphins in the Ganga, dolphins.
yes, yeah.
So when you go with the boat, you cross the river, the Ganga with the boat, you see them coming up like this. And they're extremely friendly. And sometimes when one takes a bath in the Ganga, they come really close and and suddenly jump in front of you.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a joy to see them, no doubt. Yes. Yes. Beautiful.
I have something to say, Maharaj.
Yes.
Actually, it's a question. I believe it's about like Ganga River and Yamuna River. So which one is more like holy? Because Krishna himself, like he went into Yamuna River, not into Ganga River.
That's right.
So like which one is like more holy?
Yes, that's a very fair question. Let's put it this way. They're both very special, okay? But if you really want to compare the two, the Yamuna has had a lot more contact with Krishna. He went into the river to deal with the Kaliya serpent. And, he went in as a swimmer and to deal with that rascal. And so many, it runs through Vrindavan. There's so many things we can say about the Yamuna. So it's very much praised and honored and worshipped in poetry and songs. So many great Vaishnavas have sung about the Yamuna. So for those who are Krishna Bhaktas, for sure, Yamuna is going to sort of reign supreme. But I think in the end, we shouldn't make real distinctions here. We should say it's all holy water coming from Krishna. He's responsible for giving this blessing in the form of liquid blessing, you would say. And so both are good. But the fact that those of us who have a special connection with Krishna and his times with the Yamuna were far outweigh the others, whether even the Ganga. Therefore, we can say, yeah, Yamuna is more sacred. Now, the Yamuna runs through Delhi, and Ganga runs through Kolkata and a few other places, Varanasi, where there's a lot of cremation that goes on. The Ganga is much wider, broader, faster. The Yamuna is a little quieter, a little softer. But Shastra will refer to both. They're both powerful. They're both important.
Right.
Yes.
a little interjection regarding which one. Of course, as you said, we don't compare. But I like to say that Janavi in Mayapur, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the non-different Radha and Krishna, he bathed in that Ganga, I guess, makes Ganga even superior. Don't get me wrong. But
Yes,
just
I
because,
think it can be. I think it can be debated. It's just like for those who are very deeply attached to Krishna as his followers, they will find a sort of endearment to that river. It would be a little bit like comparing Mayapur to Vrindavan, wouldn't it? It'd be a little bit like that. Which one is more sacred? Okay, but because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in this holy dham close to the Ganga, you might say, oh, that one has precedence over the other, over the other river, Yamuna. So it can be. It depends on your, your attachment. Is it Chaitanya or is it Krishna? And as I pointed out earlier on, they're one and the same, so let's not get hair splitting about it.
Maharaj, on that topic, and in Krishna Leela, did he invoke Ganga Devi to the Shapakut and Radhakut?
Did he? Yes, I believe you're right. That this is all. That's why we say it's all sacred water. Yeah, and it wasn't Yamuna water. Yeah. So it really is all the same, and that's why Prabhupada explains that it's the Yamuna is a tributary, like they're both connected, same water. Okay, so I think I think we'll finish there. I thank you all for coming on board. I hope you feel like you're on a raft going down the Ganges a little bit, watching the dolphins going up and down, and sipping some water here and there, and enjoying the ride. I don't know what happens when it goes. Well, can you imagine starting from the Ganga, starting from its source, going all the way down? That would be quite the ride. The one time I went 96, I went to India, and the person with me said, okay, why don't we can do what the tourists do, we go for some rafting on the Ganga. And I said, well, I feel a bit eerie about that because we're not supposed to enjoy her like that. Maybe some tourists will do that, but I hold her in greater esteem than what tourists would do. Okay, so thank you. We talked about the wind, we talked about Ram, we talked about sharks and Mother Ganga. What do they all have in common? They're all in the same verse together. That's what they have in common.
Krishna.
Yeah, it's Krishna speaking these words, don't forget. So I want to thank you all very much. Hope to see you next week again. And see you, at least hear you. And we'll make our connection again. So thank you very much. And Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.